okay, I'm gonna broadcast this one because it's a bit embarrassing. But I think, Lee, it's quite exciting because I started from external audit. So for me, auditing was about the number of findings you can raise. People will be asking you a very question that will say, how do you think about the system at your organization? Do you think they are watertight and all these things? But the good answer will always be no, because no system, even the best banks, they get hacked and all those things. But how do you deliver that to someone that is sitting on the other side without having a proper understanding at the technical level that there's no system that can be 100% secured? The members now, I think they are more educated. They understand the role of internal audit. They will ask the CAE, the head of internal audit, to say, what was your role? What did you do? Because you are there throughout the year. So what I'm trying to say there, we will see a lot of expectation from various stakeholders that will demand that internal audit start to account.
Hello and welcome to INbrief, a podcast by the Institute of Internal Auditors where we share insights, ideas, and real stories from the heart of the internal audit profession. Today's episode highlights leadership in action. I'm joined by someone who's shaping the profession from within. He is the current Chief Audit Executive at SASSA and the 2024 winner of the IIA SA Excellence in Internal Audit Public Sector Award. Welcome, Moses Mbedhli. Moses, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Lee. I think it's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing the knowledge with the viewers. And yeah,
we're honored to have you.
Great.
So let's start by asking you just to tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, primary school. Just give us an insight into who Moses Mbedhli is.
Okay, no, great. Maybe before I get to that, allow me to take this opportunity just to pay tribute to Miss Kalipa Ganyaza. She passed away on the 9th of May. We just buried her on the 24th of May, which was last weekend. She was the IT auditor for SASSA, very professional and dedicated. So I just thought, let me just start by that.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank you. But otherwise, Moses, born in Goangoa, Zanini. It's just a town outside Polokwane in Limpopo province. I did my schooling there, primary school, which is in Goangoa. Then I progressed to Ritabi, which was a junior primary, and eventually my high schooling there before I could move to Technikon Pretoria then. I think now with these new changes, I think it's called TUT. I did my national diploma there, and after that I did my BTech with UNISA. Work-wise, I started, believe it or not, at the Auditor General of South Africa during those days, but the Nelspruit or Mpumalanga Business Unit. And then I joined Siemens for about 3 years. I was in a business administration position, which really exposed me to understanding business in terms of the policies and procedures from the operational side before I could move back to auditing. I started my internal auditing in Limpopo, Office of the Premier. It was the centralized setup there. Then I moved to Eastern Cape. I think that's where my career sort of like took off because I've been Department of Agriculture, I've been Department of Health, I've been with PwC, I've been with Deloitte. Yeah, so I've got. Actually, I was just looking at my appointment letter at SASSA. It's my 11th of my job offer. So actually, I haven't stayed more than 3 years in a
With
job.
unemployed.
Yes, so been quite interesting. I've been to KZN as well. On a lighter side, what is it that I do when I'm not auditing? I run. I don't know where I'm running away from, but I've done a couple of marathon. I've done 2 oceans.
Okay.
I've done 6 of them. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be doing my 7th Comrade marathon. Yeah, so I think when I'm not really busy, then I do that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what kind of music do you like?
Music actually, with the confusion of amapiano and all those things, you're gonna hate those
Like the
music
song
because you're
music
gonna love it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm more into deep house, R&B, old school. Obviously, can tell my age. Yeah, but I think any genre that really slaps me, I think I just listen to it. I'm not really choosy per se. Yeah.
Okay. And why did you choose auditing? Why did you go into auditing? Was it something that happened, or
I'll
you
be
always wanted
honest
to?
with you. There was a BCom accounting, financial management, and all those fancy courses or the known courses those days. But I always wanted to be different. So I remember my accounting teacher those days, I said, what is it that I can do? And he said, there's something called internal auditing. I was like, what? What is internal auditing? It doesn't matter, but I mean, that sounds unique and all that. So I just went with the flow, not knowing what I'm putting myself into. But I think as soon as I started studying it, then I started to enjoy the subject. I think I got the best academic performance in auditing. I can't remember if it was my 3rd year or so. So yeah, I really like something that is not known, something that is new and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far? I mean, you've worked for so many companies, etc. What stands out for you?
Let me go back to KZN. I was basically entrusted to set up the risk management and internal audit units or infrastructure in municipalities there. So it was the program for the MEC during those days. So one of the key things that we needed to make sure is that all the municipalities, they have 1, a risk management unit, 2, they have internal audit unit. And then from the internal audit unit and risk management, we needed to make sure that they've got basically minimum capacity that will be able to provide assurance and advisory from the respective directorate. And it was the time when they were introducing 2009, 2010, what we used to call Operation Clean Audit. And it was our first year when we started to build it. And guess what? We achieved 5 clean audit. So 5 municipalities got clean audit. I think it was a proud moment. I remember we used to theme them when we even organized the municipal forum. We themed it the Big 5. I can't remember the name of the municipalities, but we themed them the Big 5. We gave them the awards from Treasury's perspective. So I think that was like a really proud moment because that demonstrated, 1, service delivery, because as you can see that the municipalities, they need to deliver service to the people. So it was a good thing. It demonstrated clean governance and all those good things. And when I move back to what you can mention in terms of my award last year, is Excellence in Internal Audit. I think I don't take it for granted. I think that's one of the proud moments. And the other one that I'm proud of, because I was part of the team of the Eastern Cape IIA chapter there. They won the best performing region. I think that as much as I'm no longer there when they received the awards, but in terms of the building blocks, the blueprint, I think we left it. We made sure that they've got a strong a system there, even the succession planning and all those good things. I think for me, that one is too personal because you volunteer to be an IIA member and you don't get paid. It's more like giving your time and loving the profession and giving back to the profession as a whole. So yeah, I think that's really exciting. And Yeah, I'm proud of it. And I think the last one that I'm really proud of, it's at SASSA. The first time we have the internal audit IT section. Not fully capacitated, but I think it's going there. And it has made a huge difference in terms of being able to do the specialized audit, like your vulnerability and pen testing and all those good things, which really added value to management. I think they appreciate that. I think we're looking at making it even bigger. I think, yeah, those are some of the achievements that I can recall now.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Quite great achievements.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna just play a short little game, just to see your perspective.
Okay.
Then it's called Then versus Now. So your thoughts, back then when you just started your career in internal auditing and what you think about the same issues now. Ne?
Okay.
It's just four questions. Ne?
Okay.
The first one is, when you first started in audit, what did you think internal audit was all about and how has that changed?
Okay. I'm going to broadcast this one because it's a bit embarrassing. But I think, Lee, it's quite exciting because I started from external audit. So for me, auditing was about the number of findings you can raise. The more findings you have,
Yeah.
well, then it means that you are doing well, great work and all those things, irrespective of the impact, irrespective of the value. So you just do the number of findings. But I think now it has moved to more quality. You know, what are you bringing to the table? The issues that you identify. I mean, you can identify one or two things. For example, let's say if you do an assessment in the system, in order to deal with the fraud or fraudulent activities, identity theft and all those things, you can talk about introducing a multi-authentication factor, which basically it's more like a biometric kind of systems. It will take care of lots of things, even though it's like one finding that you identify, you bring that kind of recommendation that really changes the perspective in terms of how the design and the configuration of the system is. It's more value adding, you see. So unlike in the past, you will just want to have like this list of findings. But now you tend to understand business, where business is going. You understand the strategic direction of business. Then you're able to say, but what is one or two things that I can recommend to management that they can start to look at, and it will really change the perspective about the internal control systems here.
Okay, so it's more about value now.
It's more about value.
Okay, I see. Okay, the next one, one thing you used to believe about leadership that you now see differently.
Even this one will be taken out. Leadership, basically, you used to think like Kiposo. Yeah, Kiposo.
I run
And
things.
then, you know everything. You can't ask anyone for anything. And yeah, basically, yeah, you are the main man. But not knowing that leadership is about motivating, inspiring people that work with you, and also having the right team that you can learn from. I mean, I never studied IT, but I think my knowledge of IT, it's at that level that you won't even be able to see that I don't understand them, because in terms of the risk, in terms of the systems and so forth, because I've got a director that lead the IT section, so I learn from him. So he's the right person and all those things. Even the other staff that are there, you know, they are good at certain things. So you tend to learn from them. And I always say they make me look intelligent when I'm sitting with the management in the boardroom and all that, because of that, you know. But let's say you say Kipo, so you don't want to learn from other people, then it means that you won't know. You see? So I think for me, learning is very important. So having the right team that sit there with you, it's critical. Ne? But again, the other thing about leadership, it's empathy. I think I've learned that with the unfortunate passing of my auditor, or Kalipa, because you sort of like have to reach out to the family, you support them. You show that, as much as the person work with you, but you are still a caring employer and all those things. I think that's what happened throughout. I have to be seen as the head of internal audit, meeting up with the family, supporting them where we need to support them and all those things. So I think, that's another part that you can't take from leadership. But they don't tell you that you're gonna have to deal with those.
You learn as you go along.
Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with one of those things. Yeah, but I think it's exciting to be a leader. You deal with a lot of dynamics. Sometimes you learn to keep quiet. You don't make noise. Yeah, I always say, you know what? Try not to be an empty drum. When you hit it, it's loud. But
It's
the
loud.
full ones, when you hit it, it's very quiet. So learn to observe and study people and all those things. Yeah, but exciting journey, the leadership. Yeah,
That's great. I like how you say you use everybody's strength. So you use their strength to make yourself, like, it helps you as well at the end of the day
definitely.
to look good in front of leadership, etc. Yeah, that's a good point.
Thanks.
Okay, and then
You said 4, ne?
yeah, I think it's 4. You're tired, right? Okay, what's something you used to stress about in your role that now feels easier or second nature?
Not understanding the character of management, not understanding their thinking, and also the manner in which you need to approach them. Because you find some guys are very difficult to deal with, and you need to have a certain way of kind of presenting your findings, presenting your report to them in the manner that you have soft landing, not a hard one, even if it's hard issues that you need to deal with. So I think for me, that used to stress me because I didn't take time to tap into their psychology, their mental strength and all those things. So, I mean, you just go there to say, look, these are findings, deal with it, and it ends there. So I think over time you get to learn that. And now, I mean, it's easy. I can take up anyone. You just need to understand them. You need to understand which spot they like. You introduce the meeting with those things. If it's someone that is Zulu or Xhosa, you understand their clan name and say, hey, Jola, how's it? And all those things, the whole introduction becomes warm. And by the time you go to the core issues, then, at least people, they tend to understand that you're not being personal, but it's just a part of your work. But let me tap into something, Lee, I feel very sad for the new auditors that started working during the COVID because of the online platform. You have meetings through Teams and all that. I feel for them because sometimes they miss the facial expression. The facial expression, the body language of the client and all the, for me, I think that's the exciting part. That's where you sort of like see that this is how the finding is landing. This is how
you can hide it on the
you see now. On Teams, someone is mute. They are busy bending around all these things and all that. So it becomes interesting. So I just wish that we introduce, especially the young auditors that started during COVID or are starting now, we take them to the client. I think that's also where they're gonna improve their communication skills. And it's quite
interpersonal skills.
Interpersonal skills, indeed. Yeah. So
that's very encouraging. At least, but for someone who's starting out, they can get that understanding where it gets easier with time.
Exactly.
It might be difficult now, but as you carry on, yeah. Okay, so the last one now. Okay. How has your view of success in the profession evolved from your early days to now? Success specifically in the profession.
I think it was more on a personal gratification. You get promoted to be the assistant manager, to be the manager, the level up and so forth, you view that as success. But having someone that is working for SASSA now, this I'm going to retire in the next few years anyway. I'm not far from retiring. I know I look young. Let's say by the time I retire, when I look back at the manner in which we onboard the client at SASSA, it should be more seamless than it is now, meaning that by the time someone turns 60, we should be able to be alerted within the government database system to say we've got Lerato, she just turned 60, and then we do the means test. Does she qualify for old age grant? Basically. So you don't even have to leave the comfort of your house to go to SASSA to apply, but that is kind of automated. The same thing if you are a recipient of child support grant. You are a recipient of child support grant. It should be automatic for you by the time you reach the level where you have to go to tertiary for the NEFSAs to be able to take you on, because they can see that you come from the background where you're not affording, then automatically the system will absorb you. So I think those will be some of the barometers that I will want to seek success. You work for Department of Health. How is access for someone that is living in the rural areas in terms of the primary health care? The clinics, are they near? Do they have medication and all those things? So I think when we look from that perspective, then we should be able to see that there is a maturity in the internal control environment and so forth, so that at least we can say that we've left a legacy that can be seen, even if we are no longer there. You see. So yeah, I think instead of just centralizing it, it's important for you to grow, but you grow, but the impact on the ground in terms of service delivery, if you are a service delivery or oriented organization.
Okay. Yeah, we're done with those questions. You did well, actually. So now we're just going to go into leadership and legacy. So I've got a couple of questions that we have that I think our viewers would be interested in finding out, especially from someone like you who's worked for so many organizations in the public sector and private sector as well. So how do you approach building a strong audit culture from the ground up when stepping into a new organization? With all the organizations that you worked for, I'm sure you're skilled in.
Yeah, I think to understand the maturity of management, to understand the maturity of an organization. I will give you an example from Eastern Cape Gambling Board, where I served as an audit committee chairperson. I mean, the organization has got 10 consecutive clean audits. You compare that to Eastern Cape Department of Health, they've never been close to a clean audit. How do you approach the two? You can't use the same approach when you approach them. So the other one, they've got more maturity in terms of the project that you undertake and all those things, then that is something. But importantly as well, to really do an assessment and understand the strength of your team as well, how they interact with management, because it will be very important to really align them to the management's thinking. Do they understand the mandate of an organization? As internal auditors, we get to be married, to be obsessed about the methodology. This is how we do things and all those things. But we forget to go to understand that if you work for Department of Education, it's about the quality of education. It's about the pass rate that we can produce and all those things. So once people get to understand that, then you will be able to build a solid team that will be more proactive and responsive to the organization and management as a whole. And I think from there, then there will be value that is perceived from management's perspective when they look at internal audit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what does ethical leadership look like to you, especially in practice, especially in organizations like, SASSA, politics? So what does it look like to you in practice?
I think sticking to the policies and procedures of an organization. I mean, in most times we have to deal with the media reports, which half the time it's factually incorrect. It drives a lot of attention and so forth. So I think as a leader, you need to be able to stick to the policies and procedures, to project what is correct and so forth, and not get carried away. I'll make an example. Sometimes you go to the portfolio committees, to parliament, and people will be asking you a very question that will say, how do you think about the system at your organization? Do you think they are watertight and all these things? But the good answer will always be no, because no system, even the best banks, I mean, they get hacked and all those things. But how do you deliver that to someone that is sitting on the other side without having a proper understanding at the technical level that there's no system that can be 100% secured and all that? So it becomes difficult. So I think you really need to find a way of getting to understand how you deal with those kind of things. I mean, there's also an issue where you will get a report from the media to say the organization has defrauded 10 million and all those things, because someone is just trying to play around and all those things, but not necessarily that it's incorrect. But you'll be flooded with those kind of questions and all those things. So I think ethical leadership, just to remain resolute, just to stick to what what is correct, and that's it. You can't do much.
But then how do you ensure your audit teams remain independent but still collaborative with the rest of the organization, especially in situations like that?
Yeah. No, I think in the independency, in addition to you declaring that you don't have issues, but I mean, if you look at the guidelines from the methodology in terms of how you conduct yourself, I always say it's not, when you raise a finding, it's not about according to me, it's according to the policy, according to the standard. So you quote everything, because the minute you're going to personalize it to say, in my opinion, it shouldn't be about your opinion, but to say we are auditing the organization according to the standard, then you're going to hold management accountable according to the standard. Hence, they'll start to understand. And I think that's where the independency comes in, you see. So, but it's important, obvious, to have like continuous training, to expose the staff to the development or training that is offered by your institution as well, so that at least they get reminded and all those good things. But like I said, very important. You don't use your own opinion. You use the standard, and
Just so it's not something you made up.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then what advice would you give to young professionals who are just stepping into internal audit now? They're just starting their career. What one or two things would you tell them, just to give them?
Internal audit, man, it's quite interesting, evolving. It has evolved over time. I think when they step in, they must understand that they've got so much authority. Which they need to respect, because the quality of their reports can change the landscape in terms of how the internal control environment is. So it's always important that they respect that authority. Excuse me. Like I was saying, you go back to the standard, you go back to the policies and procedures. You use that as the tool that you measure the performance of an organization. So that becomes very, very important. But what I will also encourage them to do is to, I call it dial. We did that at SASSA. Dial as in a day in the life of a beneficiary. So what we did at SASSA as the executive, we went out as ordinary people. We didn't present ourselves at SASSA as beneficiaries.
Yeah.
So we wanted to see the experience that our beneficiaries are going when they get to our office, so that we can go back and strategize and understand, do we care? Are we responsive to the needs of the community? How long does it take us to assist the beneficiaries and all those things? So I think once you have that at the back of your mind, then you become a better auditor because you understand the process from the person that is receiving services. Let's say, for example, I was working for the municipality. I will apply the same thing. Day in the life of a you call them what? Clients or citizens.
So you put yourself in their shoes.
Citizens, I mean, do you get your statement on time? Is it correct? You need to attempt to go to see how quick they resolve your problem. What is the problem and all those things. So once you have that understanding, once you can feel the frustration as a ratepayer, then it becomes easy from an auditor to say, where is the problem? How can you recommend the right actions to be taken to make sure that the ratepayers experience a better service? I mean, there are lots of potholes in towns. Exactly. So I'm just trying to think, what is it that as an auditor that you do? But I think that's quite interesting. So I will really encourage them to be more innovative, to want to understand business more so that they can be better auditors more than anything. But important, before I forget, they must participate in the Institute of Internal Auditor structures, whether at the regional level, because that's where they're going to influence and make sure that there's a good service that is being offered to the members and to the profession as a whole. I mean, I've done that. I've spent 7 years in the Eastern Cape within the committee, and it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I remember you're part of the Border. Is it Border kind? Border. Yeah, I remember you're part of the. And the next thing you, Pretoria. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very important. Also, because I think when you start attending these events and you start socializing with other internal auditors, you learn a lot. And there's also a lot of opportunities. It's just great. It's just something to learn from. It's always a benefit.
No. True that. I think that's where you build network. That's where you also to give input in terms of the types of the types of training that are needed. I remember at some point when I can't remember whether it was in KZN or Eastern Cape, they were offering auditors training on how to do the review of annual performance report as well as the annual financial statement. And guess the timing? It was immediately after the review, which was in April, May. I think the training was scheduled for like June or so. So I'm saying, but the timing is not aligned, So it means the only time that they're going to encounter the Fs and the APR, it will be next year. And all those things. So I think that's where we sort of like have to give input to say, maybe let's start it around January, February, so that at least we are still fresh in terms of preparing for that, So,
Yeah. No, it's actually a great one.
Yeah.
And then when you look, let's say 5 or 10 years ahead, how do you see internal audit evolving, especially in the public sector? How do you see it changing?
Yeah.
What do you think still needs to
maybe we like calling ourselves trusted advisors. I think it's becoming a reality now. We are becoming trusted advisors. You've seen a lot of people when they go to Parliament, portfolio committees to go and account. The members now, I think they are more educated. They understand the role of internal audit. They will ask the CAE, the head of internal audit to say, what was your role? What did you do? Because you are there throughout the year. So what I'm trying to say there, we will see a lot of expectation from various stakeholders that will demand that internal audits start to account, start to be able to give progress and feedback and all those good things as far as the organization is concerned. Because now, in the main, you have the report of external auditors, which is Auditor General. But I think now it will be overtaken by the internal audit. What we'll also see, that will put pressure on management again to say, did we capacitate our internal audit well from the budget's perspective in terms of looking at the resources and so forth? So it will mean that management will have to do more investment in the internal audit shop. But I always say, while I'm still an internal auditor and a member, I will push that we start to have the IIA rates for our audit committee members. We don't have the SASSA rates, which are mainly the external audit rates, to remunerate our audit committee members. Because if you look, I think we're still coming from the era where most audit committee members were chartered accountant, and coming from that field, basically, that's what shaped the future in terms of saying we use the SASSA rates and all those things. But now I think we need to start to build our own rate. If you work for Department of Agriculture, your members of the audit committee will come from the veterinarian, people that are expert in agriculture, soil scientists, and all those things. So those are the members. So that's why we need to have our own. If you work for Department of Health, your members are likely to be medical doctors and so forth. So what I'm saying, I think I see a shift where we have our IIA rates to compensate the members instead of using the SASSA rate. We need to have our own rates. Yeah, we need to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then how do you see the rise of artificial intelligence and automation impacting internal audit?
Yeah, I think it's interesting now because even a simple message now, you just tell Grok or ChatGPT to say, this is what you want to do, how do you go about it, all those things. And I always say to my team, I'm saying, there is no reason you should give me a report that is got spelling and grammar and all those things, because you've got all these tools before you that you can use and all those things. Yeah. So I think it's going to take over. But we still need to invest in studying, invest in understanding, and giving it the human touch. Because at the end of the day, like I said, once you meet with the client, how you deliver the report, it needs to have a human touch. You need to feel that person and all those things. But I think it's good because at the same time, it means that you can learn a lot in understanding the best practice from other organizations. For example, if you are auditing infrastructure in your organization, you can ask what are the key things that should be in place for an organization that is in an infrastructure project and all those things, so that you can be able to do a proper recommendation. Organizations are moving towards digitization, automation, and all those things. But you find that they don't have a strategy, they don't have a policy around that. Systems are not built in a way that they can integrate. You see, there will lots of standalone system and all those things. But when you tap into that kind of AI, then it's able to assist you with the methodology on how you can go about and all those things. So, yeah, I think the power will be, on people that really invest time and study
and upskill.
And upskill. That's correct. Yeah, because I'm also thinking now with the automation, you can just plug in a system. It can give you on a monthly basis exception reports, where management just can go and fix it, So those are some of the things. But it's scary. It's scary what's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to grow. But I think where it comes in is that a lot of people have this fear of being replaced
Yep.
by when you look at your role and you think, yeah, but what I'm doing right now, a person can just put it in and then automation really won't be needed. And I think that's where the fear comes from.
Yeah.
That artificial intelligence is coming and probably my role in the next 10 years won't be necessary. It'll just be the machine or whatever, automation or the digital whatever, and then the CAE can just come in and check.
No.
Check.
True that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing I'm looking at us. We've got 19 million beneficiaries that get your normal grant, excluding the SRD 350, 370. That one on its own, you're looking at another 16 million. From the 19 million, with the use of analytics, you are able to do a detailed analysis. It will give you the pattern. It will give you possible areas of fraudulent transactions and all those things. It will tell you which office it was, at what time it was processed, and all these things. You can look at the entire population with the use of data analytics. It's so seamless. I mean, when you do your you analyze the 19 million beneficiaries, sometimes I pull in the Stats SA report. And when you look at the regional spread in terms of each provinces, how many beneficiaries are there, you see there's a correlation, because it will say the provinces like KZN, which is mainly poor and all those things. These are the number of beneficiaries from our data. You look at the data that is coming from Stats SA. So there will be that kind of correlation to an extent, and so forth. So it's quite interesting how much you can do by just taking that information and then assist in terms of how you do your sample selection. Because you can say, oh, child support grants, a lot is concentrated whether in Gauteng, Eastern Cape, and so forth. Then that's how it can inform you and so forth. Yeah.
And do you think with all these emerging technologies and stuff, do you think internal audit will maybe have a role to play in the ethical use of all these AI and emerging techs? Do you think maybe there'll be an opportunity?
We have to, because you know there's a POPIA Act, which talks about making sure that you use the data for the intended purpose and all those things. So definitely we'll have that. I think there's also an ISO, I think it's 42001, if I'm not mistaken. It also talk about how ethical we can apply those kind of data that will be coming, or the artificial intelligence and so forth. So we'll still have a role to play, while in making sure that there is a compliance, in making sure that there's a risk. You know, the big risk around that, it's manipulation and all those things. So you need to make sure to say those kind of risks are taken care of and so forth. I mean, I've seen universities when they were starting now, they used to battle in terms of ChatGPT, because students wouldn't study anymore. They will use ChatGPT. But now, I just had a chat with one of my friends. She is doing the MBA, and she was just telling me, like, no, now they can pick it up that actually you use the artificial intelligence to do your assignment and all those things. So I think equally with auditors, we can see our role starting to shift towards that, but that will come with us upskilling ourselves within that area, so that we can be able to play an effective role of providing assurance and advisory around that.
Yeah, that's really big.
Yeah.
And then if you could influence one innovation or change in how internal audit works with technology, what would it be? What would you change about how internal audit works with technology right now?
Yeah, I think to be data driven. I think we've got lots of data that is sitting before us. So to be able to start to analyze the data, to start to understand it, I think that will be critical, because it means that in terms of our sampling, we can go as far as 100% by just simply playing around with data, using the right analytics and so forth. But I think for me, without downplaying the role of technology, I would still say the dial experience. The dial experience in your organization, make sure that you, in terms of the service offerings that you have, how is the customer receiving it? How is the treatment? Like I said, you work for the city, become a ratepayer. How do ratepayers experience it? I think in that way, then you can be able to influence a lot in the processes that, are leading up to us delivering the service. Yeah. So, yeah, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then what legacy would you like to leave as an internal audit, not just in your organization, but the profession as a whole? How would you like to be remembered when you retire one day,
I think maybe on a personal note, I've got 2 kids now. I've got a boy and a girl. A boy is 13, a girl she's 5. So when they've grown, how will I see the legacy? If someone is to meet them and they say, "Hi, my name is Mbedhli," and you're like, "Are you the son of Moses?" Yeah. And in that way, yeah, so for me, that will create even a better, it's like, no, your dad, you know what, he once assisted me with the questions for this interview and I got a job and all those things. Oh, no, he was a Borakaya member, during his time, he brought this kind of changes and innovation and so forth within the institute. So I think for me, when you meet my kids, then you start to talk like that. I think for me, that will be something that will be a good legacy that I'm going to leave. But importantly, to be able to see organization not battling with governance. It shouldn't be an issue, governance. We shouldn't talk findings. We should talk, the organization is great, it's doing well. As I've indicated, when I'm retired, maybe I'll get SASSA grant as well. I don't know that time. How will be my financial situation? But I'll be happy where the process is just seamless. You don't have to go to the SASSA office. You don't have to do anything. You just get a notification to say, say you do qualify for old age grant, and then please come through and get it or submit the following document. Think of what SARS is doing now. You're just going to get an SMS to say that your assessment has been completed and any of those things. If you are not sure, you can query it. I think for me, that will really be a good legacy that you look back, you say, you know what, we work for that organization. Things were not like this. This is how we used to do things and so forth. Think about when you do an application. Let me go back to SARS. You used to complete these young forms every time. But now it's just seamless.
Now you don't even have to go to their office. You don't even have to see their offices.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's a good example.
So yeah, I think for me, that will be it. I mean, you work for Department of Health. It's easy to go to the clinic. It's easy to get medication. You don't even have to queue at the pharmacy. They will send you your chronic medication by courier or something. So I think that will be a good legacy that we leave behind as auditors now.
And I wanted to ask you, if you weren't an internal auditor, what do you think you'd be doing instead? Like if you were taken to a different path, what do you think?
That's a difficult one. Maybe a chef cooking.
Is it?
Yeah, I think I do love cooking to an extent, and yeah, I think probably I will. Yeah, I'm a sucker for good food. Yeah, so I'll probably be cooking, but mainly, I think within the hospitality industry, I think I love good service, and I think it's one area that I can really excel. Yeah.
So what are your plans when you retire? Is there anything? What are you looking at doing? Do you have something planned or maybe I don't know? Or you're not thinking that far ahead?
You have to. You have to. I think as someone.
What's on SASSA grant?
I don't think I'll qualify at that point. I think in terms of my role in the governance space, whether it's in the board, I think I've got enough experience and knowledge that I can use to give back in playing a board member, whether at the audit committee or board level, and also mentoring. I think mentoring as part of giving back as well to the young auditors and so forth. So yeah, I just don't see myself retiring and doing nothing, but
or doing
definitely-
something different.
Yes. No, I will definitely be prominent within that space. Yeah, I mean, I've already done a couple of audit committees. So yeah, I do have that experience. I did a couple of municipalities, entities, departments, and so forth. Yeah.
So you have a lot of options. Maybe you can speak at conferences as well, you know?
Yeah.
You'll be the OG of internal.
Indeed. I mean, I've done a couple of sessions at our events. So yeah, why not? Why not continue that? Maybe another role that I'm also looking at, I think within the academic space as well, in terms of lecturing and all that. Yeah.
Okay. And as you know, May is Internal Audit Month. And the aim is just to spread awareness about internal audit so people know what it is internal auditors do, so they have a clear understanding. How do you think we can spread even more awareness to those that aren't aware? Because I think a lot of people aren't aware. Well, it's getting better of what internal auditors do. I think they know external auditors, but when it comes to internal audit, it can be a bit, so how do you think we can spread more awareness and share what internal auditors do to the broader society?
I think maybe you start at organizations where you are able to showcase the work of internal audit, how you assist the organization throughout the year. So you can have one as part of the awareness campaign within your organizations. Get slots where you have newsletters. We've done this in the past at SASSA. We've done it at Department of Health and Treasury and so forth. So I think we can start at that level. But I think through the Institute of Internal Auditors, you can be able to partner with the universities where you also continue with such awarenesses at that level, so that by the time they step out of the university, at least they are ready, they have more appreciation of the role that they will be playing at organizations. Yeah, I think that will be good. And I think what we also have done at some point when I was still in the Eastern Cape, we adopted a school. As part of adopting the school, then we'll make sure that, we do the awareness at the school level, especially the kids that are doing the commercial subject and so forth. So that was another way of getting them interested in studying internal audit. I mean, we're cool guys, you can say, so you need to make it fashionable at that level,
Stylish.
Yeah. So I think those are some of the things that that one can be able to do at various stages, Yeah.
Okay, and then if you were on a stage right now addressing the next generation of internal auditors, what would you tell them about the purpose and the future of this profession?
Oh, the stage.
Addressing the future.
I'll probably be saying there. I think what I can say is that internal audit is very important. We say we're trusted advisors. So think of someone that is trusted to advise. The responsibility. So making sure that you invest in studying, you invest in understanding, you invest in studying outside internal audit, I think it will assist you a lot. For example, when I landed at Department of Agriculture, I didn't really appreciate that the organization, in terms of the activities, they are it's seasonal. So time is very sensitive. When you procure for mechanization, you've got a very limited window because you've got certain time where you can plow and harvest. You miss that window until next year. So you miss that. It means that in terms of food security, you are not able to deliver. But having that knowledge as an internal auditor, then you can say, but why don't you have a multi-year contract on your supply chain so that you don't have to go out on a tender every year? So you see that knowledge now, that foresight, that you go and sit with the organization and say, okay, you are able to advise. So I think that's another one to say you need to invest, you need to study business and understand the strategic direction and all those things. But I think don't be arrogant because, like I said, you hold a lot of power. So you need to be a very, you need to have good skills in terms of being able to relate to management and all those things. And appreciate artificial intelligence, make it be a friend so that, when people come, then when time come to be replaced, at least you're not replaced. Yeah, and you can still be in the game and all that.
For your human qualities.
But I think auditing is exciting, and you just need to make sure that you study, then you understand business, then your work will be great. You'll love what you do because that's where you're going to see the value in your recommendations and all that.
And I wanted to ask, I don't know if you want to answer this one. Of all the organizations that you've worked for, do you have not a favorite, but one that you will always keep in your heart, I don't know.
Yeah.
One or two.
It's difficult because I think KZN Treasury, I still need people that have never seen me, but they say, oh, are you Moses? I'm like, yeah. I was like, oh, you used to work at KZN Treasury. So I think I made a real impact there. So I think KZN Treasury. And also the fact that I was looking out for, I think, over 40 municipalities in the province. So you find that in terms of dynamics, you've been to the Zululand, the Mkanya, Gude side, all those. So that's why I used to travel a lot and see a lot of places and all that. So I think it was quite interesting, the KZN Treasury. But again, I think stepping into SASSA at the provincial, at the national level, it's quite a unique experience. So it comes with its own perks and challenges and all that. So yeah, I'm enjoying, but I think KZN Treasury will really take the crown for this one.
Okay. And then any final thoughts or words of encouragement to your fellow internal auditors, your peers? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say to them? Close off.
Interesting. Let me first say thank you. And I hope from the experience that I've shared, at least there'll be one or two things that you can take. But I think, Lee, what is important to say that you will make mistake in the journey and keep doing what you do. You will make mistake, but the important thing, I think, is just to learn from the mistakes in terms of being able to grow, in terms of being able to move forward. Because if you do nothing, then you won't know anything. But the more you make mistakes, I've done a lot of mistakes where I presented findings in the audit committee without consulting with management and all those things. And yeah, but I think internal audit, it's quite exciting. It's a great journey. It's a profession that I wouldn't substitute it. Okay, maybe for cooking, yeah. Yeah, and all the best, and happy International Internal Audit Awareness Month. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Moses, for sharing your experience, your perspective, and all of that. I'm sure the viewers learned quite a lot from you. And thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Excellent.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If the conversation resonated with you, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep moving the profession forward. Bye.